multiple answers, excuse me. For me, the greatest servant leader that I look to is Jesus. And this is something that I keep on my desk to remind me that my job is to serve people. And it's a picture of Jesus washing the feet of the disciples, where he's trying to provide them an example of what being a servant leader is all about. And in that day and age, you know, they looked at Jesus as a king, and kings don't wash people's feet. And he did things differently in a lot of facets of his life. Now, he was a human being, he wasn't perfect, but for me, that's who I look to, and that's where I get my inspiration. Now, on this earthly world, there's all kinds of good servant leaders. And what I try to get people to understand is, and when we do this in a couple of presentations, we go back and we go, you can find wisdom in servant leadership with a lot of the old Roman philosophers that would think about life and make statements about life. So you can go back in anything from the old philosophers and learn and see, man, that's really a servant leadership statement. In the corporate world, the person that started to bring this into the corporate world is Robert Greenleaf, back in the 70s, 80s. And he worked at AT&T, and he wrote a lot of good information about what it meant to be a servant leader in a work environment. Now, we don't live forever, so now we go, okay, we've taught that. Who comes into the next modern day era of servant leaders? And in that category, you can talk about different types of people: John Maxwell, Ken Blanchard, Lucioni. Any of the people who really teach leadership, you could put them in a category of a servant leader, because I think they all teach that. But what I try and get people to understand is leaders know their people best. And if my job is to wash the feet of the people in my organization and help them grow, then I take information from multiple spots. So I might take information that I learned from reading Robert Greenleaf. I might take information from reading from John Maxwell. I know John, I've interfaced with him, he's mentored me. Ken Blanchard's the same thing, he's mentored me. Stephen M.R. Covey, an expert in trust. I've learned a lot from him. There's some people here locally in the community, not famous people, but there's counsel there that I seek their counsel because they're wise servant leaders. And I would say they're all great. But there isn't one individual that I look to help me grow as a servant leader. I take information from everywhere, all right? And the reason for that is one day, something from John Maxwell or Mark Cole, his CEO, may resonate with me, all right? I may get something in the email distribution from that organization that really hits me today because that's what I'm going through. I may get something from Ken Blanchard that hits me a little bit different. Or I may go 30 days or 60 days with nothing that they're talking about really hits me. And so the greatest servant leader for me to inspire me is Jesus. I have a lot of leaders on earth that also inspire me to help me take what I've learned and put it into practice. And that's what the human servant leaders actually help me to do, is how do we take that into practice. And so, I don't think there's one leader that you could say is the greatest servant leader of all time, because I think it changes over time, depending on where the world is and where the culture is. So in a time of war, you might have a different leader that hits that list. In a time of peace, you may have a different person that you would put on that list. So I think it really depends on where you are and what you see and what impacts your life the most on who might be on that list for you.